بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وولاده وأزواجه وأمته أجمعين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله عز وجل اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون لاهية قلوبهم وأسروا النجوى الذين ظلموا وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حسد إلا في اثنتين رجل آتاه الله مالا فهو ينفقه آناء الليل وآناء النهار ورجل آتاه الله القرآن فهو يقوم به آناء الليل وآناء النهار وفي رواية ورجل آتاه الله الحكمة فهو يقضي بها وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. As-Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and elders in Islam and people listening online. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah which I mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the time for people's reckoning, hisab, it's very close, i.e. we live a life, whatever age Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined, and then you pass away. And that is when it's your own time for hisab. One, you have the day of judgment for everyone, but one, you have your own personal time for hisab. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that despite this, the time for hisab being close for people, they are still neglectful of the teachings of the Quran, teachings of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the words lahiyatan qulubuhum, their hearts are in neglect. Their hearts are in neglect, not that they are unaware or they don't believe that there is hisab. Rather, it stops to occur to them that after this life there is another life and I have to prepare for that life. And there are a number of reasons why this state sets in, this state of neglect sets in a person's heart, where despite him knowing that there's hisab, like a student, he knows that at the end of the at the end of the course, at the end of the school year, there is going to be hisab, there's going to be an examination, and he will be asked certain questions, and depending on how well he answers, he will fail or he will pass. So the student knows that, but throughout his studies there's something else which makes him forgetful of that or neglectful of that. And today I'd like to just share one of the main reasons why the state of neglect sets in. We fail to recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's happiness and how He considers us, that's the most important thing. You know, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we have so many different interactions with people, and what we purchase, what we wear, how we dress, how we even attempt to speak, all of this, if we are honest with ourselves and if we carry out a bit of introspection, we will quickly realize that it's there to impress people. How we dress is there to impress people. How we speak, it's there to impress people many times. Not only is it a form of communication, but some of the language, the words we use, the tone we adopt, maybe even the dialect. So all of this is to impress people. especially what we buy. I think that, okay, we're going to buy this car, we're going to buy these clothes, we're going to buy this jacket or this perfume. And it's there to think that, okay, when I wear this, or when I drive this, or when I do this, what will he think of me? Or what will she think of me? And this state creates this state where Allah Ta'ala says, لَاهِيَةً قُلُوبُهُمْ, their hearts are in heedlessness. Because we are more worried or focused and preoccupied with what other people think rather than what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala thinks. And bringing back the analogy of the students, rather than focusing on how well he'll do in his examination, he or she, the student, will be more focused on, oh, my peers, how can I make them laugh? How can I be popular in their eyes? How can I make sure that I'm the one who they turn their attention to? So this atmosphere whereby we forget our own abode, we forget our hisab, it's because we are distracted by and we are preoccupied by what other people think of us. And we forget that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of us. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, throughout his life, he focused the Sahaba's attention on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of you rather than what people think of you. No, forget what people think of you. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala think of you? What is your qadr, what is your value in the sight of Allah? Every year Forbes publishes a rich list. Okay, what's this person's value? What's his person's value? What's his person's value? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has a valuation for each of us. But that valuation is not based on your bank account or the way you dress or the way you look. None of those markers of dunya feature in how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala values you. None of that. And that is the most important valuation, the way Allah ta'ala values you. And if we can, like the Sahaba, think of how Allah ta'ala values us, what's our value in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal, then that will release us from the state of heedlessness. That will release us from the state of heedlessness. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the hisab, they know they have to die and they have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they have to give account. But something is stopping them from praying the salah. Something is stopping them from reciting the Quran. Something is stopping them from doing good deeds. Something is stopping them from refraining from evil deeds. And that is a state of heedlessness. Lahiyatan qulubuhum. And one of the reasons this state of heedlessness sets in is because we are more focused on what people think of us rather than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala think of us. One time Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sat with the Sahaba and a person walked past, and Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked that, what do you think of this individual? So the Sahabi who was sat next to Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Rasulullah, him, wow, he's quite respectable in society, he's wealthy, he's influential, and he praised him. He praised him in the following way. He goes, Ya Rasulullah, he is such that when he comes to the gathering, people pay attention to him. People pay attention to him. If he's absent, people will inquire about him. Oh, where is he gone? So his presence is welcomed and his absence is missed. He is someone so influential that if someone has an issue and they go to him, that can you intercede on my behalf? Can you help me out? Can you intervene? His intervention will always work. إِذَا شَفَّعَ يُشَفَّعَ. That if he was to intercede on behalf of someone, his intercession would be accepted. If he was to propose to someone, then any lady he proposes to, she will accept his hand in marriage. And he praises it. So Prophet ﷺ remained silent. That okay, in the eyes of people, he's got such high value. Next person walks past, and Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Rasul, Prophet ﷺ asked him again, what do you think of this individual? He said, Ya Rasulullah, he's from the fuqara, from the poor people. He's ignoble, not really influential in society. If he was to be present in a gathering, people won't notice him. He goes unnoticed. If he's absent, he's not missed. If he was to intercede on someone's behalf, his intercession would not be accepted. If he was to propose to a lady, that proposal would be rejected. And he speaks from that angle. Prophet ﷺ says that the second person, the one who you think is not influential, the one who you think society gives him no value, إِنَّ هَذَا خَيْرٌ مِّن مِلْءِ الْأَرْضِ مِثْلِ هَذَا, that the second person who you give no valuation to, or who society gives no valuation to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him so much valuation, that his value in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal is equal to an entire earth full of the previous ones. Now my brothers and elders, consider this, that we spend our life paying attention to what other people think of us, the value they give us, and we go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we have no valuation in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. One of the, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ الْيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا, that a person on the Day of Judgment, the scales will be set out. So people's deeds will be weighed. Incidentally, I was just asked this question about 2 weeks ago, that how will, good deeds, they don't have no physical, there's no physical embodiment of good deeds. So how will they be weighed? One understanding is that your weight and your valuation on the Day of Judgment will be based on your good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create a scenario where yourself as an individual, you will be weighed, and it is your good deeds which will give you the weight. And if you have no good deeds, you'll be like a feather. And this is why when Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, once he was asked to climb a tree, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted some dates. So he asked Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that fetch some dates. And he was a Sahabi of small stature, skinny, small, petite. So when he climbed the tree, his shin was exposed. So another individual who was there, the thinness of his shin amused him. Look, his shin is very, very thin. So that amused him. Prophet ﷺ asked that, "Ma yudhikuk, what amuses you? What amuses you?" So he says, "Ya Rasulullah, diqqatu saqihi, the thinness of his shin. The thinness of his shin makes me amused." So Prophet ﷺ said that, his one shin is أثقل في الميزان من جبل أحد. It's weightier than the mountains of Uhud on the Day of Judgment when it comes to the valuation of himself. That's because the Sahaba were more focused on what does Allah Azza wa Jal think of you rather than what people think of you. And if we live our life preoccupied with what people think of us, the way we dress, the cars we drive, the places we go, because we live in Instagram and social media. Why is it that something forces us, compels us that after we eat or before we eat, when we visit a restaurant, we must take a picture and share with people. Yes, if he's sharing with close friends and family, just so they can share our moments of happiness, that's a different matter. But again, introspection. If we are honest with ourselves, it's about making people think, wow, we're lucky, we're visiting these places, we're doing this, we're doing that. So we're preoccupied in what people think of us, rather than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of us. And it is this very problem that we are preoccupied what people think of us rather than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of us, which makes us lahiyatan qulubuhum, that our hearts become heedless. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that اقترب للناس حسابهم, that their hisab is very close, yet they are neglectful. One of the reasons, there are several reasons which ulama give, but one of the reasons is that we are the state of heedlessness is because we are preoccupied with what people think of us. And remember, my brothers, sisters and elders, you know, the person who preoccupies himself with what others think of him will never be happy. He will never be happy. Never be happy. When you try to secure the respect, honor and love of people at the expense of Allah's happiness, you will always find misery. I like to end with this one hadith. When Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu assumed Khilafah, he wrote to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and he asked her for some advice. That I'm a Khalif now, I'm the Amir al-Mu'mineen. I have assumed responsibility for the affairs of the believers. Such a big task, such a huge task. This task of managing the Ummah, all dimensions of the Ummah, whether that's the military side, whether that's the conquest, or whether that's economy, whether that's judiciary, all of these things, I'm the Amir al-Mu'mineen. So give me some advice, awsini wa awjizi, give me some advice, but make it short, sweet and short, that whilst I am discharging my duty as the Amir al-Mu'mineen, I can do so in an efficient manner, I can do so in a constructive manner, and I can do so in the most useful manner. So give me some advice whereby I can be a successful leader. So subhanallah, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, such a wise woman, our mother, she says, so he writes to her that I am the Khalif now and I need some advice of how can I be a good leader. So give me some advice. So she says, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, because it was at her. And she says no advice from herself. She says, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man iltamasa ridallah bisakhat al-nas radiyallah wa arda al-nas alayh. ومن التمس رضا الناس بسخط الله سخط الله وأسخط الناس عليه. That whoever seeks the happiness, so his focus is on Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's happiness, what Allah ta'ala thinks of him. Whoever seeks the happiness of Allah azza wa jal at the expense of people's anger, so people may be upset with him, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be happy, and very soon He will make those very individuals who are upset with you happy with you. Because Allah ta'ala, He controls the hearts. You know, there's a hadith that إِنَّ قُلُوبَ النَّاسِ بِإِسْبَعِ الرَّحْمَنِ, that the hearts of people are within the two fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, metaphorically speaking. Meaning to say that, you know, when you need to move something heavy, you use both hands. But when something is very small,